we make the best out of the training session. Today's session is called Building Your Online Brand. And I think it links and ties very well with the session, that we conducted last week that spoke about us building confidence and making sure that we build this confidence to thrive. And along the term thrive, we now having to build our online presence and making sure that, you know, the brand that we're building is a strong one and will lead us to thriving. Have access to the recording. Right. So what will we be looking at today? What are today's learning targets? Firstly, what we will be looking at is what is a personal brand. So we'll try to get an understanding of that. And then we'll look at the importance of building this personal brand. Is it important? Is it important to even build a brand? And I think sometimes we build a brand, but we're not even aware. So creating that consciousness around creating this personal brand. And then we're going to share some important tips on how we create online personal brand. And then lastly, we're going to establish your personal brand. And we're going to establish this personal brand using your social media platforms. And I know that most of us are already active and involved in our social media platforms. But the call today is that we do so consciously, and it's not just a sharing of jokes or just the sharing or following of people unconsciously. Right. So we're going to take a few minutes and look at what do you want to be known for. So when you think about yourself and when you think about the presence that you're trying to create be it online, be it offline, wherever you go, what do you want to be known for? And what do you want people to say about you? So these are all the questions that we're wanting to answer in our heads. What do you stand for? And lastly, what is your passion? Right. So we now know that some of us would like to be known for the passion that we host. Some people would like to, so I'm going to read them as they populate. Some people would like to be known for their ambition. Some would like to be known that, you know, they're community builders. Some are saying, you know, that they are very giving. So they would like to be known as people who give, and others have indicated that they are trusting. Right. So let's carry on with the presentation and try to define or see what is it that sits behind personal branding. What is personal branding? So according to the Influence in Marketing Hub, your personal brand is how you promote yourself. One, that's the first thing. It is the unique combination of skills, experience, and personality that you want the world to see. So it is everything that you gather to try and build this persona for people around you to see. It is also telling of your story and how it reflects your conduct. So it is an opportunity for you to share some insights on who you are, where you come from, and how where you are and where you come from influences what the decisions you make and how you brand yourself. It is also telling a story and reflects your conduct, behavior, and spoken and unspoken words. So it's a bit of both. So where you get the opportunity to share about who you are, it allows you to do so. And where you don't want to share much in terms of communicating, people are then able to see you see how you behave, and then decide that, okay, because of this behavior, this person is ABC. So it's a bit of both. There's spoken and unspoken when it comes to personal branding. The other elements around personal branding, as you'd see in this pyramid that sits right on the right-hand side, it says that 80%, there's the 85% rule of personal branding. And within that 85%, right at the bottom, it says behind the scenes, and then the 15% is public view. And in essence, what this says is that 85% of what you do behind the scenes, or 85% of the things that you do and they're not seen by everybody else, is what actually builds this personal brand. So whatever you put in this space, and this space being the time that you allocate for particular things that people are not necessarily aware of, is what is responsible for eventually building your personal brand. And only 15% of what you do in public actually helps you in building a personal brand. And might I say, in building a strong personal brand. So what sits in this 15% in or the public view, as indicated in this pyramid? So what sits here is the content that you may have produced. So in terms of articles and videos that you've been able to create and shared it in the public space. There's one-on-one communication. In some instances, this will include the status updates that you share, seeing that we use a lot of technology, and some blog comments that you make on a particular blog that you follow, and the information that you share in terms of your profile picture, and the people you meet in your social networks and how you converse with them or how you interact with them. And what sits behind this big space that occupies this 85%, which is behind the scene? Behind the scenes sits all the content that you absorb. So be it the books that you read, the time you spend listening to particular podcasts or webcasts. So the engagements that you have, one-on-one engagements that are enriching, be it via email or direct messaging, or the telephone calls that you may be making to your friends or whoever. But those are proper engagements where you apply yourself and you're thinking in depth and you're trying to share the knowledge that you may have from obviously all the knowledge and the content that you've absorbed. Also, being able to use some of the social media platforms and their features effectively. So these would be all the Google alerts that you set on your Google search platform, and your Twitter searches and things like that. So all the items that are shared with you, or all the elements that you put in place in order to grow yourself and extend yourself. This will include your continued education. So when you apply yourself and make sure that you complete your online courses that you apply for, and all those elements, eventually they add up and they form the behind the scenes kind of personal branding. And you will realize that you spend bulk of your time building this personal brand, but by what you do consistently and continuously. And over time, what you do will then feed into the public eye. So the things that you would like to be known for, like we indicated in the previous slide, if you're an ambitious person, if you're a community builder, and you're honest, and all these items, will only really feed to the people, and people will only recognize you as such if you've put enough work into this behind the scenes activities. Not unless, of course, you work very hard to be seen in the public space by just posting, and with every little thing that you do, you just post. But for the mere fact that you are actively involved in some of the engagements that show some of the elements that you would like to be known for, then by default, what you put in the public space will then reflect as your personal branding. Why is this personal branding important? We've sat and we've talked through some elements that we think are quite key. And when we were finding readings around preparing for this session, there are some elements that are quite key into as far as why it's important to build your personal brand. The first one will be if you are looking for employment or if you are looking for funding. We all know that online employers search and investigate their candidates online. It's just not hidden anymore. When employers are looking to employ people, they have your CV, but you'll have one or two, especially if there's a panel, you'll have one or two people looking and searching to find sort of your digital footprint. They want to see what you're involved in. Is it in line with their offerings? So that when they do offer you this work, they know that it's something that sits at the core of your heart, and it's not something that's going to be an additional burden. It gives you the opportunity to ensure that people see you in the way that you want them to see, right? So it's not just about showing off, but because of the work that you do behind the scenes, eventually it will reflect under the 15%. And what you are building behind the scenes will eventually show at the end of the day. So it's not about just playing a show off, but it's more about making sure that you invest in yourself behind the scenes, make sure that you read, make sure that you listen to the right content that's in line with what you want to be seen as, right? It gives you the opportunity to highlight your strengths and your weaknesses. So personal branding is very key when you want to highlight some elements, especially if eventually it will lead to being in the public space, and some of those strengths and some of the passions will be highlighted. Then the relevant people will be able to pick all those elements up and then use it accordingly. It helps you stand out from anybody else. So what you do sets you apart because it's the design that you build for yourself. Ideally, there's no influence that's so much so that it pushes you to acting like someone else or being like someone else. There will be influences in terms of who you are following, and those people are meant to be pouring in terms of the knowledge and growing and extending yourself. But they're not supposed to be influencing you so much so that you're actually following and looking like them and being them. It allows you the opportunity to actually build yourself and share the yourself with the world. Personal brand is also what makes you memorable. Like I was saying in the previous statement, that you don't want to be the next person. In the event that you like a particular persona, there could be elements that draw your attention to that particular person, be it because they are knowledgeable or how they speak or communicate. There's something that naturally will draw you to that person. And that draw should only be limited to that one item that you like. But it shouldn't surpass that element. Otherwise, we wouldn't know if it's really Umatapelo or the next person. So it's important to define yourself such that you're not limited and you're not defined by whoever it is that you possibly look up to. So you have the opportunity to spend time with people And within that period that you spend with people, they will remember you for all the things that you are able to do, how you communicate, how you carry yourself. It's only you who would be able to bring that element from you, if you are not actually copying from someone else or trying to follow a particular persona. It will also help you improve performance in your business. I think a lot of businesses spend quite a lot of time trying to see how they can market the products that they sell, and they look for different spaces where they can sell these products and different ways in which they can sell the products. And in an event where it's a personal branding, the elements are not too different, because in terms of what you need to be doing, there are quite a lot of similarities that you need to put in place in order that you create this personal branding, and that it works for your advantage. So where you're creating a business, it will help you improve the performance of your business, because the more people see your business in a positive light, they are more likely to follow you and make sure that your business grows if it's something that's in line with what they like. Right. So we're quickly going to be looking at some tips for creating an online brand. And we're going to focus on an online brand, particularly because there's a great move from marketing ourselves in a face-to-face environment against marketing ourselves or creating this brand, or creating a brand in a face-to-face environment, as opposed to or against an online brand. When you look at the two, the move is more towards an online brand, an online space, because we're finding more and more people moving to an online space, and the online space becomes the hub where employers are possibly looking to employ people, where people who are looking for friends or people to follow, they're doing that online. So we do have our friends where we, like our colleagues or the people we went to school with, and all those elements. However, in terms of growth and development, there's a move more towards an online environment. And this is why the focus will then be on an online brand. But remember that 85% space speaks to the things that we do when no one is there, in private. And eventually, be it online or offline, whoever meets with you will then meet this brand that we're talking about. So the focus for now will be on an online presence, but whoever meets with you will be able, even in a physical space, will be able to see this brand that you are trying to bring out. So the first tip is that the first tip to build this brand is, there are questions that you need to be answering, key questions. And with the leading one being, how will you brand yourself? How would you like to brand yourself, right? So when you're looking at all the elements around, all the social spaces that are available, all the people that you meet, how do you want to brand yourself? And what do you want to use to brand yourself? When would you like to do it? Who would you like? And where and why do you want to create this brand, right? For this session, we're going to focus on the what, how, and the where, right? So when we're speaking to the what question, we are looking at, what message do you want to communicate? And I think we started the session of trying to answer that, because a lot of us already shared that, we want to share that we are passionate. We want to share that we are Let me look at some. We are ambitious. We want to share that we are community builders. So all those elements speak to the what, to communicate. When you're looking at the what, you are also looking at the what are you into, so your interests. Now this sits, and a core of this sits at the 85% space. You know, what are your interests? So you like reading, do you like listening to podcasts, do you like professional development, do you spend your resources making sure that you following trends? All those elements eventually add up and share or respond to the answer that speaks of what. What do you want to be? And then tell the world what exactly you are thinking about you. So all the resources that you're putting in place in order to share this personal brand with the world, try to respond to the what question. The second question then becomes the how. How are you going to speak? How are you going to share this with everyone else? Are you going to be in a public space where you are speaking out to everyone via video? And if you are going to, or are you going to be using some form of blog, you know, on Facebook? Are you going to be posting some posts about who you are? So you need to define how it is that you are most comfortable with sharing yourself, right? And then lastly, we're speaking to the where, which links nicely to the how, because once you know how, then you know the list of spaces where you want to share yourself. So in the event where you're looking at sharing your videos, you could be a vlogger and open a YouTube account. In that account, you could be speaking about all the things that you are doing, or you could be following people who are vlogging, and from their vlogs, you know, create your own content and make sure that you share with the world. But obviously, the how also is cemented by the what, because the what speaks to what you put in yourself. The investments that you have placed within yourself will then speak to the where platforms, and how, and resolve all the other questions that we had. So in the event where you like writing, you enjoy writing, and you know you're a good writer, or you'd like to improve your writing skills, so you follow the right people on Facebook, on Twitter, who are good writers, you follow them, and from their insights, you are then able to grow your knowledge and your insights. And then from those insights, you then start writing, you start creating a blog. And from that blog, it could develop into something and mushroom into something much bigger than the space. If you are a person who doesn't like being vocal or like speaking, there's Instagram. For instance, if you're a good cook, and you know that you've got good recipes that you like to share with the rest of the world, what you do then is you use your Instagram platform, and in that platform, you start posting the meals that you're cooking, and you share some of the recipes with the rest of the people. So whatever it is that you want to portray, there's always the what, which is the foundation, the content, the solid, in fact, content that you want to share with the external world. The how, which is speaks to what kind of person are you. Are you very vocal and you want to share everything with the world through speaking? In that case, that directs you straight to your YouTube or Vimeo in some instances. And then you upload your videos on Vimeo, and you make sure that you share the links on Facebook, on Twitter, all these spaces, so the relevant people can actually follow you. And then the way it speaks to all the different platforms that you want to use when you're distributing your content that you want to share. Tip number 2 speaks to developing a strong social media presence. In the previous slide, we spoke about the way. Now, the way speaks to the social media platforms in most instances, right? So when we develop a strong social media presence, we need to decide on one or two platforms that you are more comfortable in using, and you know that you know your way around the platforms, and you're comfortable in using those platforms, and you know that if you use this platform and that platform, you have a large reach, and it will be able to share, or will be able to expose you to the relevant people or the people that you're trying to connect with, right? The second element is around curate. And I think the element of curation is what a lot of us don't think about when we actually are in these social media platforms. And curation speaks to elements around, number 1, finding great content that others use, and finding this content and making sure that this content is content that's very strong and is very deep in terms of what you want to achieve, and that it's thought-provoking, and that it speaks to who you are or what you want to bring across, right? And it's informed by the people who you follow, who you know have got greater insight on the subject matter. So it's not just about finding a quote, and it sounds lovely, but you have no insight as to who wrote it, what was the context when the person was writing it. So you just merely copying across. But having that 85% element where if you're sharing a quote, it's because you read a book, and within that book there was some context that in which this person was talking from, and from that view is where you are sharing this quote. And when you are sharing this quote, you then extend on your understanding of what is said within the quote. So it's not just copying the quote because you saw it and you possibly may or may not have understood it well, and then you're just sharing it. But find the depth of the quote, follow the people who are writing these books, and find the context. I think that's more important than anything, because when you understand the context, then it speaks to your environment, and you see how the quotation is applicable in your instance. And that's when you move to the next element, which is create. So naturally, because you understood what was in that quote, you then look at it and share it from your perspective. So it's not just about posting when days are dark, friends are few. We don't know why this person was saying that. We don't know the situation this person was going through when they wrote that. But when we share easily without sharing why you are saying when days are dark, friends are few. So you need to be in a position to look at things in perspective and make sure that you find depth within the content or that you want to share. And then from there, make sure that you infuse yourself within the content that you're sharing. So infuse your thoughts, because that extends the thinking, and it allows an opportunity for engagement. So when you've shared the quote from someone else who's external, possibly not part of your group that you are sharing in, and then from there you are sharing your thoughts and ideas on what was shared from by that particular person. And when you share your thoughts on that particular quote, you then allow an opportunity for an opportunity for engagement from the audience that you're sharing the items with, and you make supportive and informed comments that represent your point of view, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you. It's about developing a strong social presence that speaks to you. When you sharing the quote as is, you're just merely promoting whoever it is that came up with it initially, but you're not sharing any extension of thought, of insight, from that particular sharing that you are doing. So you then become generous with your likes, and by becoming generous with your likes is because you are following the relevant people. You are able to follow and see all the comments that people are sharing from possibly what you have shared or what they share, and you are able to create engaging conversations, deep engaging conversations from that cycle of sharing. So there's the element around deciding where you want to post your or share what you want to share, and then you curate what it is that you're sharing. You don't just share. Have a full-on understanding, have some context in mind, and share from your perspective, from what has informed you, from your perspective. Share from that view, and then be able to create, because when you create, you are extending yourself, you learn the skill of being able to share your thoughts and your insights with everybody else, and that's how you generally get engagement in your social media platforms. So yeah, generally you will see that a lot of people post, but it's not a lot of people who post that get a lot of comments. So in instances where you get comments, it could be that because, one, what you have shared is enriching and people are associating with what you've shared. Secondly, they realize that you have an understanding of what you have shared, and they want to share their views as well. And then the conversation becomes it grows and becomes a rich conversation. Tip number 3, and I think it also speaks to what we were speaking about under tip number 2. The elements are around knowledge and applaud the work of others and staying connected. So because you are in a social media platform, it makes sense for you to follow people who have the attributes of what you want to show, because by following them, it means that you are following possibly what they like to do, and what it is that informs some of their thinking. And from those elements and those readings that you follow, you then grow and are able to create a network. And from the network, you are then able to, you already know that if I post something along these lines, I know I'm going to get responses from a particular group of people, because that's the people you have something in common with and a common liking. And those are the people who will like enrich, or rather rich conversations. And from that network, you then grow the network, because the people that they have in their networks are now connected to you, because they are able to see the post that their friends are posting, and they're able to see the comments that you are sharing. And from such networks, you are able to then extend even your reach, especially where you are looking for employment, you're looking for more business. It's through such engaging and rich conversations that you are actually able to get more business, that you are actually become more noticeable, and you become more memorable, because everybody meets different people on a daily basis. But it's only people who speak a certain way, speak certain things to you, that you are able to remember them. It's you don't remember everybody that you have an encounter with, or you meet along the way. But where a person has got presence and is able to hold deep conversations, then you are able to remember, especially if they're in line, if those conversations are in line with what you find interesting, then you are able to you are able to create those connections. And what's also great is once you have those connections, you are then able to acknowledge the insights of others and appreciate the insights of others, because by so doing, you are opening a path of growth for yourself. Because once people acknowledge that you appreciate certain elements, then they tend to share more with you. And in the similar way, you do the same thing, you'd share more. And we need to applaud each other more often. I think, particularly as women, we need to applaud the work of others so that we build each other. And, nothing is as motivating as feedback. And if it's another woman that's sharing feedback to the next woman and the next woman and the next woman, what that is actually doing is that we're building each other and we are holding each other tightly and making sure that we grow in a positive light, So our lives shouldn't be about shaming each other, but we need to stay connected for the right and positive reasons. Tip number 4 speaks to keep up with current affairs, right? So you keep up with current affairs so that when we hold these deep conversations, you are able to refer to particular instances that you are following. You are able to remember that, there was something that, I picked up from a newsletter bulletin or a newsletter article that I was reading that speaks to whatever conversation that we have, right? And where there's opportunity in keeping up with current affairs, because you know what's happening, when it's happening, how it's happening. And when an opportunity arises, you're there by default. You don't have to start searching for it. You heard that there's something happening in such and such a place. Now you have to try and merge the links or try to see the connections. Try to keep up as far as possible with current affairs and as far as possible with elements that speaks to news in your industry or things that you have interest in, right? So that you have a deeper, an in-depth in terms of insights. You become you speak from a deeper place of knowledge, and you keep up to date, or you stay abreast with current affairs through digital marketing trends or through newspaper articles by following the right, like we said, people, news in your industry. All those elements then assist you in terms of speaking from a place of knowledge and not just assumptions. Because I think sometimes we assume a lot, and sometimes it sounds just like a lot of noise. But where you speak from a point of knowledge, you are able to reference quite a number of things. You are able to, it also alerts you to a number of things, because when people speak of items you are able to pick up, you are then able to follow, especially if you are staying connected with the right people. You are able to follow the correct articles, the correct websites, the correct followers on Twitter. All those elements then speak to keeping up abreast to current affairs. Number 5, and I think for me stands out and is what makes this personal brand stand out, and make sure that you grow in it. It's the element around consistency. It's very important to be consistent. So you don't want an issue where you've indicated that you are a community builder, and the next thing we see you on Facebook in a bullying article, or in a element where you are shaming another woman, or removing another woman's crown. So all those things that you do within your 85% space need to be speaking to building this brand. And when you eventually reach the world out there, it's important that you remain consistent. Serena Williams, who is one of the greatest tennis players, says, "I think in life you should work on yourself until the day you die." So consistency and working on yourself is something that that shouldn't fade away from you. You constantly need to be conscious about what it is you want to become. For instance, I know that a lot of people who are in finance and a lot of people who are making it in the finance space are constantly thinking of ways they can break through, of ideas of how they can make their 5 Rand coin grow bigger. It's a constant thought, and they cultivate their thought. And it's not just a thought that they sit on, but it's a thought that they engage with, and they seek resources in order to make sure that eventually they make a breakthrough. And because it's such hard work that they put into making sure that their resources grow in a manner that they want them to grow, then they treasure the resource. It's in a similar way that Serena will invest the amount of time in terms of practicing and making sure that she exercises to keep fit on a daily basis. She does these exercises, and eventually it reflects in how she plays. She's consistent. Serena, she played for years on end without being beaten. She'll lose 1 or 2 games, but in terms of tournaments, she made sure she came out best. And the reason behind that is because her 85% space is spent on elements that will actually build her and make sure that the goal that she wants to achieve is actually achievable, right? So now let's look at hate on social media. Why do we say hate on social media? We've indicated that we're creating this personal brand on social media, right? And on social media, there's the perspective is different depending on where you're sitting, right? So there's people who'll say that social media is for show off. So people who are on social media are just show offs, right? We need to change the perspective and consider how you can connect and be more intentional. So what you may think is a show off is actually someone who's putting in quite a lot of work to produce what is currently being shown or being shown, or what you are seeing, right? So there's a lot of investment, especially for people who are keen on building this good personal brand. They will spend a lot of time making sure that they build what it is that they need to be showing on social media. And when you view it, it comes across as if social media is a show off. I've been following, for instance, Mushendiki, who started social media honestly just vlogging, and his account grew into an Instagram platform, and I still followed him because I wanted to see what it is that he was developing into. He then started showing his different dishes because he's got an interest in cooking. Whilst I was following that he's got an interest in cooking, I then later on found out that recently he's launched a spice range, and he's selling this spice range to a lot of chefs. He's selling the spice range to a whole lot of households. And when you look at how he started, I could have thought he was a show off because of the dishes that he was showcasing. But in reality, what he was doing is he was cooking and sharing some of the meals with his friends. And he was taking photos of these to build his Instagram social media persona. And eventually, he's now launched this spice range. And everybody is raving about how good the spice range is. But because of the investment, it only comes because of the investment that he put in terms of making sure that he puts out there what he wanted people to see, right? There's also people that will say, don't want another conversation to manage. So social media is just too much. We go through tons of emails in a day, and just social media isn't the place for me. The perspective should change to post what inspires you so that it doesn't feel like a burden. Respond as you are inspired to do so, and comment upon others' sharings. Do not burden yourself by conversation that you come across. It's not compulsory for you to comment on everything that comes up, but speak to what converse to what moves you as an individual, and try to grow in those elements. Because honestly, it is true, we go through quite a lot of information in a day, and it is only what moves you that will make you comment, and it shouldn't be just about commenting. Other people will say, it's a waste of time, right? The perspective should be shifted and say, behave naturally. It should come naturally. It shouldn't be forced. You weave the strategies into your activities. So what you build, it shouldn't, like we said, it shouldn't be a burden. It shouldn't be you thinking that, yeah, I need to fix this and that and that and that. Start where you are. It should flow naturally. And over time, as you learn and engage with other people, it will get to where you want it to be. But you need to be patient enough with yourself and make sure that, your perspective is attuned in a correct way. Right. Let's see who needs some inspiration. Let's look at Oprah, for instance. She's a very inspiring woman and a great example of branding. And from women on the world, and she's built her presence not through social media. If you've been following Oprah, she started way before social media blew into such a big thing. And what has kept her in the space is that she is authentic, she is honest with herself, and she speaks substance. And when you follow Oprah, you know that she does a lot of reading. She's got quite a number of book clubs that she does. And her knowledge and her insights are informed by her past. She never shines away from her past, which make her very authentic, right? She's very honest with who she is, where she comes from, and the decisions that she's made. She'll always tell you what from her past informed those decisions, right? She motivates others to improve their lives constantly. And that's who she is. She can't hide it. Wherever you meet with her, her life revolves around motivating and building, particularly with a focus on women and girls. And we know this by the school that she actually built in South Africa. And she says, be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more if you can concentrate on what you don't have. Sorry about that. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more if you concentrate on what you don't have. You will never, ever have enough. So she says where you are is exactly where you need to be. You need to be appreciating where you are and be thankful for where you are and what you have. And most importantly, use the resources that you have around you in order to brand and promote yourself in a positive way. We spoke about Serena Williams earlier in the presentation. And when we take a deeper look at Serena, we realize that she takes a strong stand against sexism and racism and elements around that. So she's got a stand on that, and she's not moved by it. And she's got excellent skills and a great fashion sense. And I think we see a lot of that when she picks her items for playing her games. But she says that the success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up. Make sure you are very courageous, be strong, be extremely kind, and above all, be humble. So she appreciates that as women, we need to be building each other. She appreciates that where you seem to be at an advantage, you shouldn't be shunning others down, but rather lifting other women up and making sure that they rise up to a level in which they can build enough confidence and be able to build this personal brand. And our very own executive director, as we all know, local is Lekker. We've got our own Omashni Naidu, who's currently the SchoolNet executive director, a Global Intel Visionary and Woman of Stature Award finalist for 2020. And what we know about her is that she stimulates digital learning through leadership. She's an advocate for use of digital technologies in education, and hence we are having a series of these training sessions or webinars. And I must attest to the fact that she will go as far as possible to make sure that another woman is enriched. And that she's very giving in her nature, and she is well aware that one is able to learn from whoever and whenever, and that's the spirit of humility that she carries. And her growth has mostly been around helping others and making sure that others are on par with where she sees the organization grow. So there's great women out there that we could learn and extend ourselves from, but it's in the networks that we keep that we are able to build a good brand for ourselves. So I'm going to pause a bit and play a video for us to listen to and have an open discussion about the video that we are going to listen to. going to go to the chat and see if there are any comments. Right, so we've got some comments in the chat, and someone who says it is knowing your worth with or without people's approval. We are all beautiful and capable in our own ways. I think that's a beautiful comment there, Pindi. It is very true. And I think it alludes to one of the posts that was in the slides that spoke to, you are a brand, whether you like it or not, you are a brand. So you might as well just take some time and make sure that you build it such that it speaks to the people and it speaks the relevant information. We've also got a comment that says, be yourself, don't imitate anyone. That's so true, Lizeg. It's so, so true. It's important because you're denying yourself. And it also speaks to one of the posters that was in the video that says, be yourself, everyone else is taken. So you can't afford to be trying to steal someone else's character or persona. It's important that you appreciate yourself. And there's one that also spoke about, sometimes it is scary to come to realize who you are and what you like. But it's important that you do take that journey, and it's important that you just basically be yourself. There's another one that says, be yourself, everybody else is taken. I liked that one. I also liked it, Christoph. It's a beautiful one. You have nowhere to run to besides the fact that you just start and build that brand. And fortunately, in this current world, we've got social media that can sort of spread the message across. All we need to do is make sure that we just start. So now, when we say start, what exactly do we mean? Because after such a session, you ask yourself, but where do I mean? I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Flickr, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm everywhere. But where do I start? Remember that previous slide that we spoke about that speaks to selecting just two. So think about it carefully. If you're not comfortable already with, sharing yourself in full out there, maybe select one. And when you've selected that particular one, you then go full force. You think about the page that you have, what it is that you would like to share. So I'm going to take a risk and share my profile, and I hope that it will share some insights on what I'm speaking about. And a small disclaimer here is that when it comes to consistency, I must say that I I haven't been great in terms of maintaining my profile, but I think it's important that we just have a view of what currently sits on our Facebook pages. And I'm sure that my Facebook page currently looks like everybody else's Facebook page who's connected. So yeah, I'm just going to risk it and look at some of the features that we could possibly use. For this presentation. So for this one, I'm going to need to share my entire screen so that I log into my Facebook page. So you'll see that there's quite a lot of things that seem to be happening here. But firstly, you will see that, right, I've got my home button. I've got the opportunity to create a story. And by creating a story, I have an opportunity with sharing with the world out there today, what is on my mind. And currently at the moment, what I'm thinking about are all the posts that I saw within the video, and particularly the post that says, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. That is what I would like to share currently. But there's an opportunity to share what is on my mind. You'll see by default, Facebook wants to know what is in your mind, not necessarily what everybody else has written. Yes, you do get that opportunity because some people share things that are in line with what you're thinking currently. So you have the opportunity of just resharing that content. But remember, when you do reshare that content, infuse a bit of yourself within that, so that you share your view, your perspective of what the post is about. So on my right hand side will be the Facebook, the SchoolNet Facebook page, because I'm currently running, managing some elements within that space. But there's an opportunity for me to look at my friends, you know, and by looking at your friends, you have it. I know that there's quite a number of people who will have over 1,000 friends. You know, this is something to really think about. Is everybody that's my friend on Facebook who I want to follow, or who I want to have access to what I'm sharing? You know, and I think for some time there was a point where I had 500 odd friends, and I had to be honest with myself and sit and sort of sift through all my friends and delete some of them, because I was having conversations around, do the posts that these people share on their space motivate me in any way? Do they move me in any way? And I saw that, you know what, bulk of those people are people that just share a lot of nonsense that's not in line with what I want to achieve with my Facebook page. And so I had to remove them. And you will see that there's a whole lot of friend requests that I have. And most of them I haven't responded to, because I need to sit and think purposefully, consciously about the people who have requested for my friendship. Do I want all these people to see what it is that I'm sharing? And in the event that I'm not keen on any of them seeing what is happening in my profile, then I'll always delete and decline all those requests, because if it doesn't grow me, then I don't need to be seeing it on a daily basis. All right. And you will see that on the left-hand side here, I'm not going to go through everything. So this is just at the top of my mind, some of the elements that one is able to do in order to refine their pages and make sure that, you know, it's in line with what they want to achieve. You will see that at some point I created a page, right? And this page at that point was in line with what I was trying to achieve. I had a group of young women, and the idea was that I wanted to grow in Christ with these young ladies. So I created this group, and I shared some beautiful posts with them. I shared some links with them of motivating topics. I shared invites with them where there was an events happening around Christianity, and because that's a liking that I have. So I created that. And at some point, when Facebook used to have Facebook notes, I started a blog, because I wasn't aware of a lot of blogging spaces. And it used to sit here, and now I realize that it isn't there anymore. So I need to find it and make sure that some of my blogs that I had initially created, I move into a blogging space. But under notes somewhere, and I'm not sure if it's moved to something else, I would share some of my thoughts that were well thought, and I thought, it's a beautiful concept or a beautiful idea, and I shared some of those. And I had some beautiful comments of people sharing that, this is a beautiful note and it relates to something that was happening to me at a particular time. So when we speak to, building and starting that online presence or that personal brand, we're speaking about thinking in depth of what you want to achieve in that profile and making sure that your updates are in line with what you want to achieve, right? So your challenge for now is that you find a piece of content that you potentially like to share in your social media platform, right? And when you found this can be a quote or an image. And I think some of us shared some of the quotes that we liked from the video. And then you share it in your social media platform, and you encourage discussion by posting a question or comment or a statement relating to the post. So now we're moving towards that that element that spoke to finding the spot that you want to share, curating whatever it is that you want to share, sharing your insight into whatever it is that you want to share, and sending it out there so that you get a positive feedback, or rather comments, and create engaging lesson. And lastly, what we always encourage is that you share and reflect on some of the learnings that you gain from these sessions that we share. So you can go onto your blogger, and if you don't have a blogging account, you go to www.blogger.com and create your blogging account. And then once you've created the account, you take you jot 3 takeaways from the day's session. So 3 items that really stand out from the top of your mind, items that you really want to share in your blog post. And then you share 2 things you want to change or improve based on your learnings. And then you jot down 1 thing to keep. But most importantly, remember the 3-2-1 steps, right? All right. Now I'm going to open up some time for us to share a bit of our thoughts from today's session. Please do feel free to type in the chat box. I see that we have another comment that was shared by Brenda, who says, "We are living in a judgmental society